cats of the north. How's everybody doing?
Your kings have failed you, so now you turn to the gods. And yet you do not plead.
And yet you do not plead.
To dust your heads with ash. Instead you wail, why have the gods forsaken us?
DLC.
Into the trials we failed.
DLC. DLC.
World intertwined with another through an upheaval scholars call the conjunction.
I need to do DLC.
The gods allowed unholy forces to slip into our domain.
All right.
The offspring of
And yet you do not plead.
mysterious force called magic.
All right, so I need to do DLC. I keep getting distracted doing all these boring side quests. Some of them are good, but at this point right now, it's like over half of them are boring. Over half of them are wasting my time.
This conjunction.
Where it's like, really?
The corpse eaters. The way
That was actually disappointing.
raise our swords against them.
It seems like the content they've made is
One so called
kind of
strange
dwindling when it comes to a late game
sorcery.
side quest.
Mutated through blasphemous.
They don't seem as fleshed out.
Sent to fight monsters, though they could not distinguish good from evil.
Where they don't like that earth elemental.
Long extinguished within them.
There's a spooky haunted house. We go in there, it's shaking, and it's all spooky. We get in there, and there's a locked area. There's some sort of unnatural root. There's a talk of a prisoner. I mean, of a mage imprisoning a creature, but giving it enough freedom so that it doesn't feel like it. So that it doesn't feel as constrained. Why would he do this? What is he imprisoned? It's a fucking earth elemental. It's just a basic bitch earth elemental. Really?
The dark raiders abduct our children into lands unknown. Some say they herald a second conjunction.
I'm telling you, that should have been a lesson. They planned on it being a lesson. That's why that unnatural root was there. It should have been a lesson that was fully voice acted, that was imprisoned, but allowed enough freedom so that the mage, because why would a mage imprison an earth elemental? They can create and control them and make them do whatever they want. What's this purpose? So no. What's an imprisoned earth element gonna do with that? What's he gonna do with that? Study it? They can create them. Why are you gonna study some shit? You already know everything you need to know about it if you can fucking make it. It should have been a lesson. And the lesson should have spoke English. The lesson, he should have been trying to interrogate the lesson or at least negotiate with the lesson to try to teach him his magic. And then, because lessons have been demonstrated to be intelligent creatures, but we've never heard one speak as far as I know. And not in the game I played. You know, that like, so much lost potential there. So much lost potential. And that's been a lot of the quests lately. They introduced another character, that little red, who was apparently a werewolf. But you never even get to find that out. It's almost as if there was more content planned for her. Because think about it. Why would they not reveal that surprise? Think about it. So if you decide to fight her, she turns into a werewolf right there, and then you kill her. If you decide to not fight her, and you let the guy who is lying get taken, you don't find anything else out about a character. Nothing. But if you kill her, first off, you already know she's a werewolf because she transforms. Second, you know that she has, she comes from a line of werewolves that were trying to like be more humanoid, like not just be bestial, that they are. Just they could like werewolves and humans can live alongside each other. Her dead parents claim in the letter, right? But unless you decide to just be an asshole and kill her, you don't know any of that shit, right? Because if she just walks away, she literally disappears out of existence as soon as you finish the quest. And I even looked it up last night just to see. No, there's no other quest lines with her. She just doesn't exist anymore. She's not an NPC. What is that? But why? So I wouldn't have known that she was a werewolf unless I looked it up online or decided to kill her. You know darn well if they were going to do that, they were going to reveal it either way, right? But they didn't reveal the big reveal on one of the things. Why didn't they reveal it? I bet you there was supposed to be another quest line. I bet you, like, if you don't, like, she had like a unique voice actress, it felt like, too. Like, it, if you don't kill her, you could do another quest later on with her, maybe, and then that's when you get the reveal later on, right? It seems like a lot of the quests that we're getting right now in the game are half-finished quests. They ran out of money, they ran out of time, I don't know, but it really feels like, ooh, that's half-finished. And that's over half of the quests that are happening now. And so, like, they're either filler quests that really aren't interesting, you know, kill 3 ass bears and get their pelts for me, or they're interesting seeming quests, but as soon as you dig into it, it's like, that was boring. And that's over half. So I need to stop playing around with the side quests so much now, and just, I need to focus on the DLC. Because I'm insanely extending the length of the game for no perceivable reason at this point, other than just to waste my time with quests that are boring as hell.
Avalach too began to lay plans of his own.
So I'm gonna do some of the DLC stuff. I imagine there is no half-completed DLC stuff, right? I'd hope there's not. So all the DLC side quests are probably interesting as well. Yeah, she was a unique character model too, because they reuse character models. You've noticed that, right? The same, we'll see the same man with different hair, and like 100 times. But no, she had a unique character model. I believe she had a unique voice actress. I didn't notice her voice. And like this guy, we've seen this guy all over the fuck. We've seen this guy thousands of times in this game here. Now, an interesting backstory, like an NPC with a long backstory, but no depth. Like, there's no way to access that depth other than just murdering the NPC. What? Why would you flesh out a character's backstory like that and then make it only accessible through murder? Very odd choice. Very odd choice. Alright, so I believe this is a contract. I'm not interested in these anymore. I'll do some more of these some other time, maybe. I don't know. I'm starting to get kind of disappointing in the later game side quests, because they really feel like they're only half finished. Alright. So instead, let's do this. When Geralt later told me the story which began at the Seven Cats Inn notice board, he mentioned he had felt drawn to that place, as if some stranger undefined force wanted him to appear there on that day and that time. I didn't give this remark a second thought until I heard the tale in its conclusion, and I realized its beginning had been no accident. And it begins like this. One day Geralt arrived at the Seven Cats Inn in search of the next contract. He pursued the notice hanging there, and yet found none to be of much interest, and was about to go on his way when a man came to nail a new parchment on the board. The notice announced a certain Olgerd von Everich residing in the nearby Garen estate was looking for someone to kill a dangerous monster lurking in the Oxenfurt sewers. Sounds like a job for me, thought Geralt, and he set off to see the Olgerd and learn more about the contract. Little did he know this was the beginning of a great adventure, one filled with both delightful diversions and deadly dangers. All right, Hearts of Stone, everyone. Here we go. I'm not exactly at the recommended level, but I think we'll be fine with my god mode. I'm gonna respec that out today, but we'll play with it for a little bit longer.
Fuck.
All right. Hopefully it's letting you watch, Juan. Are you able to see what we're doing yet, Juan?
You're a good man, Geralt. Fuck. In a hurry.
All right.
Come on, Roach.
Excuse me. Wait, hold on. I was like, "What's this red mud? Is that blood? Holy fuck!"
It's raining buckets.
Trying to look at his ears. Is this guy an elf or something? It's too fucking dark to see. Maybe this thing. That he has normal ears. Yeah, so they're just killing them randomly? Oh, these are dwarves.
It's raining buckets.
That's not a dwarf, is it? Oh, they're all dwarfs. Yeah, look how tiny they are. I didn't realize they were dwarfs. So yeah, they're just killing anyone who's not fully human. I didn't notice they were dwarves. Yeah, so it's getting worse in this town. They just put a bunch of dwarves against the wall and executed them. Like, they got this guy here. Is this guy? Yeah, this guy's a halfling. He's not a dwarf. But this guy over here is a dwarf. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Why would they have dwarves helping them, but they're murdering random dwarves? Because these just seem like peasants. They look like random peasants that happen to be dwarves. They're dressed like peasants. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened.
Perfect weather to sit by fire.
Like, why was there so much blood splatter from some arrow shots, too? Like, did they just beat them, like, with, like, hammers and shit before they shot them with arrows?
It's
Or crossbows?
buckets.
This bitch talking about his raining buckets. Buckets of what? Blood? Look at the fucking walls there, lady. You think she'd have some more relevant shit to talk about.
Come on. Giddy up. That's it, Roach.
All right.
Lovely weather. Sitting in
Now they're guarding the cemetery? You lazy sons of bitches. There were ghosts haunting that place like freaking yesterday in the game time.
Faster.
Oh wait, yeah, let me decide here what I want to do. Because I need to go here, right? So I am going to hit up some of these question marks along the way, because these are question marks related to the DLC apparently. Okay, Zarek, so Wired happened to me when I was playing Witcher 3? Weird or wired, and what was weird or what was wired? Alright. We're almost there, horsey. This will be good right here. Wah, 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 wah. Watch out for giant spiders. Yeah, there's a lot of them in this game. An abandoned site. Fallen night, you say? Ow. Fuck off. Hit me, bro. Really? They're actually not gonna approach? Alright, well that'll be perfect. Then I'll just walk over here and switch out my skills. Wow, 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 wow. Am I allowed to switch out my skills now? Nope. How far do they have to be before you're not an asshole, game? Normally, I'm about to say, normally it does not have to be this far. This is absurdly far. That's like 5 times further, maybe 10 times further. You can normally break lock much quicker than that. Like, Jesus Christ. Let's see. If we're gonna have a bunch of humans being dicks, I think I want to use a puppet. Maybe I haven't decided. Do I want to use the puppet or do I want to do this? I think I'm gonna try to not use the shield, maybe, even though I really like the shield. I was thinking about using this because there's an ability to make it so that arrows can't get through the thing. Yeah, it destroys projectiles. That's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, I could let me just replace one thing. That'll work. Like this bit here. I just wanted to experiment with it and see how it works. Since they're not going to approach and they're only going to want to use projectiles, I want to see how this works. It didn't fucking destroy shit. Fake news. I got fake news so hard. By the way, you work for me now, bitch. What was that? Look, they really refuse to approach. So how is it? They really won't approach under any circumstances. They won't even approach each other. What is this? I am so confused right now. You stabbed him in the dick. Oh, it's an alternative one that you have to hold. I guess after I stabbed him in the dick. Wait, hold on.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Well, see, now I can't do it because there's only one projectile guy. Hit me, bitch. I dare you. Come on, man. You always try to beat me. Hey, calm down. I need to kill him, okay? Alright. Ow! You fuck! Now you can hit me again. Excuse me, I need to kill your friend. Oh, ooh, hey, was there a weird pop-up of a triangle button? Did you guys see that for a second? Yeah, it doesn't seem like you can knock him down with that. This is so silly. Aw, it didn't go mouth. Bam, 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 bam. Why don't you guys join? I could be doing damage to you too, don't you know? I really like it when the attack sends you flying, but you don't die. Oh no. You take no damage, but you get knocked like 20 feet. Why would you keep fighting if this is what would happen when you hit the guy? He hit himself as hard as he hit me almost. This is so ridiculous. So Godzilla's atomic fire would have been really useful in that fight, but I didn't use it. Yeah, so I have these guys have a ridiculous amount of armor, like to Silly Town armor, and I don't have good damage at all with this. This is just me playing around with spells. Pretty close to just redoing my build really quick. If I'm going to keep fighting enemies like armored, heavily armored, I'm probably going to switch. But I do also have this skill here, which I'll take another point in it so I can equip it to... Which one did I want to equip it to? Was it here, I think? Nah, I need the extra weight, man. I can't live without the extra weight. Though I could drink one potion of weight increase for now. For now, I could drink one potion. Increase my carry weight. That'll let me have to be able to play around with both the things. What's the carry weight potion again? I can't really remember where it is. Shit takes too damn long to find. I think it was on the side. Yeah, there it is. There we go. Oh, that was a weird looking sword. Order of the Flame Rose Sword. Yeah, if I have to keep finding heavily armored opponents, I might switch stuff. I shall be brief. As a matter of simple, the issue of Kirster Hagen must be resolved in a manner both complete and final. The village that served as a... What the hell does that sound? That served as a safe haven for the Imperial snitch must be burned to the ground. The surrounding fields sown with salt. Drive the women and children off. Hang all the men. M. Well, damn, my dude. This motherfucker ain't playing games. Let's see what's up at the top of this tower. It's like, sorry, I could have helped. Yeah, see, look, your fire, it's super powerful, look. In fact, that's one of the next things I'm going to spec into whenever I decide to go full magic like this again. I'm going to do all fire and all of the shockwave stuff. And the first level of the fire reduces their armor by 75%. So they have 75% less armor, and those guys were super heavily armored, dude. Like, they were taking almost no damage. Encrusted key and bloody letter. Okay, we got a very wordy one here. Field agent, whatever. Alias Beanpole. Execute order 66 according to procedure 66D. To be delivered personally to the commander of Intelligence Cell Cardinal. The Renegade Knights Trail leads to the Novigrad region. They took control of the nearby fish tech manufacturer upon arrival. Possibly this is what brought them to the region. They trying to take control of Walter White's stuff? You better watch the hell out. Have occupied prime observation position. Drop box has been prepared. In case of unforeseen complications, the agents sent to track us down will find it in the pound. Wait. Have occupied prime observation position. Dropbox has been prepared, just in case it doesn't actually mark it on my map. In case of unforeseen complications, the agent sent to track us down will find it in a pond visible from the observation tower near the village of Morhin. Regarding the knights, here a big risk might reap big rewards. We suggest offering them Imperial gold for their services. With Radovid having suggest offering them. Wait, what? Okay, I read the same line. Disperse their order. The knights prowl the lands like common bandits, scavenging for their upkeep. And they now hate HRM Radovid with a violent passion. They gladly take our coin, and even more gladly destabilize Redanian army rear's guard. This they do far better than any partisans. I don't know why I said it that way. Worth considering. Agent Shintop. Yeah, so Agent Shinetop, who I imagine is bald, Beanpole's skinny, Shinetop's bald, is still on his mission. No word from him for several days. Waiting for further instructions. Postscript written in blood. Wait in hell, Nilfgaardian whore. And your next Agent Shinetop. Jeez. Well, this is like an interesting question mark so far. This is part of the Blood and Wine stuff, though, so that's probably why. Alright, let's hit up this vendor here.
My, what a freak.
Did you call me a fucking freak?
Welcome to my workshop. Sturdy craftsmanship at a reasonable price.
Show me what you have on offer.
A space rooster? That sounds amazing. Where do you get space roosters from? And how delicious do they taste? Well, obviously space. And like chicken. Alright, come on, man. What is this? What is this? What are you gonna give me for this bullshit? Order of the Flaming Rose. Alright, we'll sell those garbage ass swords. I'll keep this one for now. Gotta get rid of all this shit though. I can't be having it weighing me down. What? You're out of money already? You poor ass son of a bitch.
So long.
Can you? Oh wait, yeah, you can just barely make it out. Like I didn't see it at first. No, I'm looking. Oh yeah, I am looking at it. Okay, I was trying to look at this one. I thought I was looking at this one for some reason, but no, I'm obviously supposed to be looking for that one. You can just barely make it out through the trees, dude. Damn, nature always in the way. Why are you ruining everything, nature? Stupid nature. I thought I was dead. I stopped breathing until I hit the ground. Chainsaw hands. What the hell? Time to burn it all down. Yeah, I agree. Who needs it anyways? The ecosystem is a myth. Listen, the world's flat, the ecosystem is a myth, evolution is a lie. What other fucking crazy ass shit can people say? I've never heard them say the ecosystem is a myth. That shit would be funny as hell. We did have a subscriber once who used to try to convince me that the world was flat. It was hilarious. I would get lots of laughs out of that shit.
Winds howling.
Hello, bald person. Aren't you the agent? Shine top? Yeah, what's the nesting? It's kind of annoying that Final Preparations keeps updating like that. They want you to do that shit bad, dude. Oh shit, it was right there underneath the docks? Did they say it was underneath the docks, or did they say it was in the water? Yeah, I kind of want to read that letter again and see if I could glean the location of Shine Top. I don't know, though. I don't think I will. I hope that I just happen across it with another question mark location. This is, you know, this is interesting. I hope this goes somewhere, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to do it all right now. We cleared those 2 locations. Good, good, good. Back to Horsey. And let's continue to try to start this DLC. The next question mark we shall approach on our way there is this one. For obvious reasons. No, don't give the flat earthers what they want. Attention? Is that why they say the earth is flat? Because they just want people to laugh at them? I mean, I can see that. I can see that. Like, they're kind of like a weird class clown in a way. Like people aren't in on the joke. Like, except for other flat earthers, they all like agree to just pretend like they think the earth is flat, and that'll make everyone laugh at them, and they're like, we're doing the world a favor, we're making it a happier place. We pretend to not laugh, but we're laughing on the inside of how stupid it all is. They're so convinced. They really do sound like they're so convinced.
You only ever feel like shouting. Don't lift a finger around the yard.
Like, but look at all of this evidence that proves it, as long as you wear blinders, ignoring all other evidence related to these subjects. It's almost as if you can interpret data in any way you choose, so long as you pick and choose the data that you're going to interpret.
I already read you, and you barely gathered a second bastard. Not good.
Frank said they just effing stupid. You'd be surprised. Sometimes the most idiotic opinions are held by some of the most intelligent people. Intelligence has little to do with people being wrong, and it's more about open-mindedness and not being stubborn and being willing to admit when you're wrong, not just to other people, but more about admitting it to yourself at the least. That way you stop trying to convince yourself. But people who are very stubborn and are unwilling to even admit to themselves that they could be wrong about something, if you combine that with incredibly high intelligence, what you come up with is the most fucking outlandish, well thought out explanations for shit that is just pure fiction. It's really quite amazing. It's just absurd. One of the reasons why this happens with religious people more often than people who are not religious is because people who are religious sometimes believe that, like, some religious people believe sometimes that you can't have both, right? Like, you can't have God and you can't have science in certain ways. Like, you can't have a universe that's billions of years old and have God at the same time, because their definition of God is tiny and weak, whereas they're supposedly say their God's all powerful, but yet they lack the ability to do anything they want. I thought that's what all powerful means. So they'll limit their God, and that's a lot of the reasons why this will happen. That'll be the big hiccup, right? So they believe in God, but they're smart. This is very common. This happens all the time. Whether or not you believe in God has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just what comforts you, what brings you comfort is what people tend to go with when it comes to spirituality. Spirituality has nothing to do with intelligence or lack thereof. It's about comfort. And so they believe in God, and so they want to not believe in things that they believe conflict with God. So if they're incredibly intelligent at the same time and very stubborn, then and at the same time, and they're more likely to be stubborn when it comes to something like that because they believe it conflicts with God, so they don't want to dismiss that part. And because they don't dismiss that, they have to come up with some other reason. And so what they'll do is they'll come up with this shit that's really it's brilliant, but it's just fucking fiction. It's just a lie. Incredibly well thought out, like highly studied things that by necessity has incredibly large blind spots. You're Frank. You're saying yes, it does. No, you're wrong. Like if you're disagreeing with me, no, I'm telling you, this isn't just my opinion too. This has always been my opinion as long as I can remember. But like about a decade ago, I I found research, peer-reviewed research that actually agrees with my opinion that quite often the people who are wrong about things for the longest, that stick with things, are some of the most intelligent people sometimes. It doesn't mean that stupid people aren't also wrong. Stupid people will all be wrong more often than not when it comes to hey, who's wrong, the smart person or the stupid person? Probably the stupid person is wrong. But you'd be surprised how often smart people are incredibly wrong about things because they don't want to be right, and they just have fucking blinders on. Like a great example is Albert Einstein, and him believing that the universe was static. Albert Einstein didn't want to believe that the universe was moving, that everything in the universe was in motion, like the solar systems and everything. I mean, he believed that they were in motion, but he didn't think like they were in motion like the stars were moving independently of each other and shit like that, and we were in this ever-expanding universe. He thought the universe was whatever size it was, and that it was static. It was not changing. And he thought this for various reasons. I think had to do mostly with his, I'm pretty sure it had to do mostly with his like anti-religious shit. Because at first it was just he sort of thought it, and then when a religious person came up with the Big Bang Theory, like it cemented him in it or something. Like I don't really 100% remember, but he fought tooth and nail for this static theory, and in the face of all evidence, like literally all evidence was showing the different, that it was different. What did he do? He never backed down on it. He's like, no, it's static. It's static. And he would just come up with these outlandish fucking explanations, trying to come up with anything to prove it. Whereas the same mind came up with a theory of relativity that completely disproved, what the way that people thought about the world, would completely change the way that people thought about the way the universe worked. Just complete. Like, you had to be really open in the way you think about things in order to be able to do that, because you had to look at everything that we knew to be observable while still being able to and then dismiss or accept whatever isn't observable but fits in there, and then at the same time try to apply other things that we know to be observable that maybe don't fit into this current theory of how things work in the right way, and then add a little bit of here and there until it's like, oh wait, what if we put this puzzle piece here, here, and here? That wouldn't mean the universe works this way, right? Wouldn't it mean that this works this way? And he's coming up with all this crazy shit. Meanwhile, he still has these big ass blinders, and he's able to argue his point very coherently and very well, but he's just completely fucking wrong, and all evidence was pointing to him being wrong, but he would not accept it. Like, it's a legitimate thing that happens. It happens. It's called confirmation bias. That's one of the words for it, because that's one of the things you'll do. And that's not exactly right. It's not called confirmation bias. but you'll use confirmation bias as a thing to reinforce it. What is it called? It's called it's basically just called bias. There's something else that you put with that word though, I believe. And my brain's not working quite well right now. But it mostly happens to people who are unwilling to admit that they're wrong. And the more intelligent people tend to be, the more often they're not always, but certain people, when they become, the more intelligent they are, the more they become confident in everything that they know. Like I'm like the opposite of that. The more I learn about things, the more I'm like, am I right about this? I don't really remember. And if I do remember, I'm like, yeah, but am I right? I'm pretty confident in certain things, but I'm willing to change my opinion on the drop of a dime if I'm proven wrong about something. If there's irrefutable evidence to prove that I'm wrong, I don't like. There's nothing. I have no problem with going, oh, okay. But yeah, the more intelligent you are, like think about it as like think about it as like class debate. Like if you go to debate class and you're supposed, if you go to debate class, even though I've never been to a debate class, I still know what it is. So if you go to debate class, a subject is chosen and you have to represent, like you're chosen to be, I will argue against this subject and I will argue for this thing. And whether or not you believe in that thing doesn't matter at all. And so someone who's a skilled debater and a more intelligent person will be able to come up with these very strong arguments that will allow them to win debates when they're provably wrong. But it's just they're smart, so they can come up with really crazy things that make enough sense to convince people. Now, when you have that, and you also, what'll happen is that some people, when they're very stubborn about things, they'll develop blind spots in their own head. They'll have blind spots. You can give the person IQ tests, and they'll have really high IQ. They'll be really well educated. They'll go through schooling and learn all this stuff. They'll be really quick on the upkeep. You know, they're figuring things out real fast. But they have some people like that will also sometimes have the most incredibly dumb arguments about things that they will not back down on, no matter how much shit is thrown at them. And they will come up with the most outlandish shit. But often they'll also come up with some extremely like well thought out,
Greetings.
detailed, and very convincing arguments to prove themselves right.
Wouldn't mind a look at your stock.
One moment.
Wouldn't mind a look at your stock.
Alright, I'm back. At least he wasn't arguing for an invisible man in the clouds. Ah, who cares, man?
Farewell.
You want to know the only thing worse than a modern like a modern Christian who won't stop preaching to you when you don't want to be preached to? A modern atheist who won't stop trying to convince everyone that God doesn't exist. That's more idiotic. Like, why do you have to prove something that doesn't need disproving? Like, you're not the one making the assertion. The Christians are the one making the assertion that a thing is a thing. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to engage. You don't have to be a part of that argument. They're just there. And it's so rare nowadays to encounter anyone who gets all holier than thou. That's not really a common occurrence. I very rarely experience that. I'll go years without meeting a person like that. Like, so people who make big deals about like people who believe in God or gods are just, you're just wasting your life. You're wasting your life far more than you think that people who believe in gods are wasting their life, because they're wasting their life in a way that makes them have comfort, right? Like, it's like, if someone likes to sleep with a fucking teddy bear, like, why are you like, hey, why are you being like, hey, what the fuck, you're sleeping with a teddy bear, dude? Like, why are you sleeping with a fucking teddy bear? Well, it makes me happy. I get to snuggle with a damn teddy bear. Let me snuggle with my teddy bear. Like, that's fucking weird. Don't snuggle with a teddy bear. That's fucking weird. Like, are you in their bedroom? Like, who fucking cares? Unless they're telling you that you also have to snuggle with a teddy bear and they're following you around, then it doesn't matter. You're wasting your life by following them around, telling them to not fucking snuggle with teddy bears. Like, if you don't believe in a god, and someone does believe in a god, their belief or non-belief should be as important to you as someone's sexuality when you're not interested in them sexually. If you're not interested in having sex with someone, their sexuality doesn't matter at all, period. And that's the same thing with their religious beliefs. And unless you're trying to, like, have a long-term relationship with someone, their religious beliefs only matter if they're coming up to you and trying to convince you to be religious as well. Well, that's because they go to school and they are part of that. Like, of course they're gonna do that. But, like, that is also, like, I know, sorry I come so hard down against this, Frank, but I think that's also one of the biggest fallacies of atheists nowadays. It's just absurd how hard atheists fight against religious people. It's just a waste of fucking time. How much in the past 100 years, past 10 years, past 5 years, past year, past 20 years, past 60 years, pick any amount of time up until this day, all the way back to 100 years ago, pick any time, any start date to this day, and how much have we progressed towards being more religious in our schools and our government? The answer's none. We've gone away from it. We've either been stagnant or gone away, but we've never gone towards it. Like, we don't do that. It's a non-issue. Like, that's a non-issue. So them trying to jam things, and like, there's more of a threat from the Democrats taking away firearms than there is from like everyone being forced to be Christian. And there's really no threat of the Democrats taking away your firearms. There's a threat of them limiting them more. But like I said, that's one of the reasons why I would say there's far more of a threat from that than there is that we're ever going to be forced to be religious. It's just not going to happen. There'd have to be a new religion. Like, for instance, like if the Muslims completely took over America and Sharia law became a thing, then obviously we would, by law, have to be more religious in a lot of cases. But that's also not going to happen. So there's nothing to fear from that kind of stuff. You just vote against someone who's trying to do that, just as everyone else does. Some people will vote for it, but it never works out for them. Because not only, here's the thing, not only are there not nearly as many people who are that religious, but there's also other people who are religious but of a competing religion who doesn't want that religion to gain power. So it's just never going to happen. It's always going to move away from religion and never towards it. You'll find small situations where like a state will temporarily pass a law or two, but then that person will leave office and that shit will be reversed. And then it's like they'll take one step towards religion and then 2 steps away from it. But it's always stepping away. It's not a threat. It's just not. So I like, just let people believe in their comfort blanket. That's what it is. Like, if you believe in God, then God is your God. If you don't believe in God, then people who believe in God, it's just something that they do to comfort themselves. It's kind of a dick to stop them from doing that, because as long as they're not following you around hounding you, then why not let them comfort themselves? That's the same. It's no different than telling someone they can't be gay. No, you can't be gay, because I think it's weird that you're gay, so you're not allowed to be gay. And as far as Western religious people, it is becoming more and more a trend that religious is a religion is a private thing, and not so much I shout from the rooftops my belief system, and I try to make sure everyone knows, and I try to convert everyone. That it's far more of a, like, I hang out with other people who believe, and we all just do our activities, and we find joy and happiness in these activities, and we don't tend to like bother people. Like, the most that you'll see, the most aggressive religious people in America that I found are the door-to-door people, and they are so passive in their aggression. They'll knock on your door, and if you tell them to not come back, they won't come back. You just say, no, I'm not interested, please don't come back. You can say just like that, and you won't see that group for probably a couple of years, basically until that group, like, until you fall off some list somewhere, because the people who are working your neighborhood decide to, like, go move or something, and something's lost or something like that, and then you might be back on a list to have one visit, and then you're like, no thank you, and I'm not interested, please don't come back anymore, and they won't come back anymore. And and those are the aggressive Christians. And of course, there's exceptions, but those exceptions are no different than serial killers. We can't use serial killers to define civilization. We can't. We just can't. We can't take an entire group of people and define them by the radical craziest of the crazies. Which the radical craziest of the crazies, I haven't heard a lot of news about them, but I remember about maybe a decade ago, maybe less than a decade ago, there was that church group who would, like, protest. They would protest like dead soldiers and shit, and say they were going to hell because they were gay or some shit. I can't remember. They were really fucking obnoxious. And everyone agreed that they were obnoxious. Even people of their own religion said they were obnoxious. Prove there was nothing because nothing hasn't been the claim for decades. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I've been talking for a while. Prove that there was nothing of what? Oh, prove that there was nothing, as in prove whether God exists or not. So prove to me that there's nothing. Well, you don't have to prove that there's nothing, because why do you care what they believe or not? Like, that's what I mean. Like, that would be like that. Like I say, proving that there's nothing is no different than trying to prove that they shouldn't be gay. Like, that's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of your life. Let them be gay. That's what makes them happy. It's what brings them happiness. And it's the exact same thing with religion. Yes, it might be out of the ordinary for someone to be extremely religious, but as long as they're not trying to define your life and limit you, saying, I'm taking away your things, I'm doing bad things to you because you do not believe in my religion, then their belief systems should have nothing to do with you at all. That tends to be like, it really is a waste of people's breath to bother. I really wish most atheists would just calm the hell down, man. There's no need for it. Just let these people do whatever they're gonna do, as long as they don't start fucking with you. When they fuck with you, then you push back, and you push back hard. That's how that goes. Like, now remember, but you push back around equal to what happens. If a Mormon knocks on your door and tries to talk to you in a peaceful manner, then you push back peacefully. You say, no thank you, please don't return, I'm not interested in your religion, thank you. And that's it. Now if they continue to bother you, then you escalate the way they escalate, because now they're violating your personal space against your wish. They've escalated things. And of course, I'm not talking about like the same, like some other group of people who are completely different, right? I'm talking about the same people trying to harass you. However, if it's someone like walking down the street saying you're gonna burn in hell, like let's go back and let's say something like that, like some shit I've never even seen in my life. You're walking on the street, people are gonna be like, you're gonna burn in hell, you devil worshipping fuck, or some shit like that, right? Then I would suggest ignoring them. But I think that any kind of reaction that is equal to what they're doing to you is perfectly fine. Call them a stupid fuck, and because they're calling you bad, why don't you call them something too, and then walk on. If someone tries to force you to do something against your will, not try to suggest you do, but they force. At this point, they're trying to make you do things that you would not do, as in, hey, you will do this thing or you will be punished. I'm going to force you to do it. Well, then if someone's trying to force you to do something, then respond back with force, because it's under threat of like force. I feel like responding back with force is perfectly fine. But if someone's just saying, bad things will happen if you don't believe in God, you'll go to hell. How empty do you think that is? Do you think that someone saying you're going to go to hell is a scary thing? Do you believe in hell? If you don't believe in hell, then what their words should be empty and meaningless. And your reaction should be as empty and meaningless as their words, which would be nothing. You just walk away. Who cares? Like if they try to push legislation onto you that you don't like when it comes to laws, then you vote against them. If they manage to pass that thing, then you lobby against them, or you campaign against them yourself, or you organize against them and you get rid of that thing, which is what always happens. That's the main point in which like atheists are doing the job of an atheist, in my opinion, which would be keeping religion from being forced on them. Because just as someone is free to be religious and believe in things that comfort them as long as they're not harming other people, then an atheist is free to not believe in these things and to live their life the way they wish, and push back against anything that would prevent that. It's just equal force. But unfortunately, what I see nowadays is when I was young, there were remnants. Now, you're much older than me, Frank. But when I was young, there was remnants of the aggressive religion, the aggressively religious people. They were still around here and there. But by the time I was in like my 20s and 30s, that shit was almost gone. And nowadays, I never see that. I never ever see that. But do you know what I do see? I see extremely aggressive atheists. And as far as I'm concerned, the Christians are the underdog now. They're the ones being passive most of the time, where the atheists are being actively aggressive towards them. Like, that's not gonna win any votes. That's not gonna win me to anyone's side. I'm not gonna vote for religion to be forced onto people either. But I'm damn sure not gonna vote for the oppression of religious people. Like, Jesus Christ, like the pendulum has swung too far when it comes to anti-religion. If you are anti-religious, then I think that as you should also be like pro freedom of thought, basically. Because I think that's the whole point in being anti-religious, is that you say, I don't want to believe what you believe. I want to believe whatever the hell I want. If that's in the great and mighty spoon or in nothing at all, then that's what I believe. And don't you fucking try to make me believe anything different. I'm not up for that shit. Like, I think that should be the supreme position of like the atheist. Like, there's nothing to, like what the hell? Like, that's the ethical position, I should say. Like, but if you're forcing other people, you're forcing shit on other people, and you're actively, aggressively, like, trying to limit these people and what they can do for themselves, which is what a lot of atheists try to do. Jeez, not even the majority. It's just like a subset. By the way, it's not even the majority, but it's popular enough to where it's like much bigger than those. The aggressive group of atheists is much bigger than the super aggressive group of Western religious people. Remember, when I said Western this time, I felt like it was important that I remind people that I mean Western, because there's still some religions on Earth that are extremely fucking aggressive. But those religions really aren't very popular in Western cultures, because most Western cultures are very pro-freedom of thought. And there's those two things insanely conflict with another. An authoritarian religion, it conflicts with anything that is freedom, period. Like, you can't have it. And the more free-focused your country is, the more likely the shit that it's just not going to happen. And America is one of the most focused countries when it comes to freedom. Like, America is super freedom-focused, to where we allow way more things than a lot of countries allow. A lot of countries, like, ban hate speech and shit like that. But in America, you can say fucking vile shit to people, and it's fine. Like, you're not going to get in trouble at all with the law. And it's just hateful, super vile shit. And in most countries, you can get locked up for that now. And so we're that focused on freedom that we allow that, which is why, really, as long as you're in America, you have nothing to worry about from religions. And as long as you live in a Western nation, from most Western nations, you don't have anything to worry about from religion. Now, if you have an extremely religious neighbor who happens to be a holier than thou, then my heart goes out to you. But that doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the religious people out there. That is just, you happen to live next to one of the crazy people. But there's crazy atheists too. There's crazy everybody. There's crazy stamp collectors. You just got unlucky. I think you probably have some pretty bad memories, Frank, because you are a lot older than me, and I haven't even seen in real life probably some of the messed up shit you've seen. Like my mother had me when she was 17 years old. So she's only 17 years older than me. Now, my mother lived in a different time when it came to religion, because like in the early 80s,
Looks like rain.
I wasn't, that shit wasn't affecting me because I'm a damn infant almost, right? In the late 80s, that shit doesn't even really matter much, right? And when you're talking about when I'm like in my teenage years in the 90s, like that wasn't really a thing that I experienced much. Most popular culture was not very religious. Like you were starting to see, like, why do you think things like Ozzy Osbourne happened, right? Like, and that was allowed to be a thing. And then there would be the old establishment, the old powerful religious would fight against it. They would be like, Ozzy Osbourne is that devil. Look at what they got them. Even back in Elvis's time, they were doing that, but that shit didn't go very far. But there was still, they had more power then, but that power has dwindled to nothing now. They don't have any power. They just don't. They're a small, they're not a small, but they're just a voting bloc that doesn't have the power to completely change the way our system of laws are going to work out. But they're a voting bloc that does have enough power to where the people who are trying to get into office will either pretend to be a religious person to get a few extra votes, or they will just happen to be a religious person. But either way, they almost never make any progress towards any sort of religious law that prevents things from happening. And when the rare occasion happens when they do, it's one step forward towards religion and two steps away from religion. Like they lose. They always lose. But my mom lived in a very different era than me, even though she was only 17 years older than me. Like my mother, she was forced to go to like a Pentecostal church where they were speaking in tongues and doing all kinds of screwed up shit. Her daddy was a pastor who was one of them kind of pastors, like all the worst stereotypes you could put on a pastor. Like it was like she experienced a bunch of really fucked up religious shit. None of that. Like I only saw little bits when I was young. I spent part of my childhood in a children's home, St. Joseph's, I believe. That was, a religious place too, and that shit didn't do anything good for religion. Like that place was the devil. Like who was St. Joseph? Like St. Joseph must have been the patron saint of fucking suffering. Like that shit was horrible. So like, but that shit went out of that. I got out of that place, and I just I would randomly run into the occasional religious person every now and then that would be rude about their religion. Rude about it. One moment. My most recent case of it was and it's always an old person now, by the way. The most religious person I've known who wasn't a very old person in the past 10 years was a guy who was about like 10 years older than me. And he was very religious. He worked at the church. He went to the church several times a week. he would mention things. He would mention God in conversation. He would mention God in conversation. Because it was relevant to him, and it was relevant to that conversation at the time to him. But he never tried to convince anybody of anything. Never once. Now, if someone showed interest, he was very eager to talk to you about God. But if someone seemed disinterested, if no one took the bait when he would mention God in some way during some conversation, that in a way that would be relevant if both people were Christians, if the person didn't like get into like didn't actually go, hey, talk to me more about that thing, or respond in a way that would be religious, then, or if they he would in those situations he would talk to you about God more. If on the other hand you try to say you didn't, you basically, you told him, you just like stop the conversations, oh, I don't believe in God, and you start trying to have a conversation about how God doesn't exist, he didn't really engage those people very much. He was just like, oh yeah, that's fine. It'd be nice if you did, but I'm not trying to convince you of anything. This is just me and my spirituality. This is how I don't really remember how he would say it exactly, but basically it's how like he lived his life, right? God was a massive part of his life. So when you would talk to him even about mundane things, sometimes God would be mentioned in those things, but he was never trying to preach to you. It would be the same way a person who was a really big fan of a sports team, who knew you weren't interested in sports, would reference sports in conversations, right? Like, so you'd be like, oh man, I'm talking about this thing, it was so incredible, I couldn't believe he threw it that far, man. I was like, oh yeah, that reminds me of freaking when something Manning did a da-da-da. That's a really interesting story. And so like they're relating to you by saying a thing that they like, right? Like he would do that kind of thing sometimes. He would do stuff like that. And he was one of the most religious people I've met in the past decade, who wasn't an extremely old person. And he wasn't at all aggressive about it. But in the past decade, I can say for sure 2 people who I was forced to have interactions with, specifically because of my job. They were extremely religious in the bad way. Both of them were like retirement age while still working. And both of them wouldn't, it's like they've become, it's like those types of people tend to become sneaky with it now, where, and they're not going to try to force you to do a thing, but if they don't think that you're like them, they will. It's the same way as like people who are racist or sexist or homophobic or any of those things. It's the same way most of those people exist in our society nowadays, in the Western society, is that they know it's not right to do these things now. And since they know it's not right to do these things, and they know that it's publicly unacceptable to do these things in most cases, they do the vast majority of them will do one of 2 things. They will either try to fight those impulses and just ignore it the same way you would ignore a lot of other things that are inconvenient, like a hot summer day, right? They're like, this is just something I have to tolerate. I don't like these people, but I have to tolerate it. But they don't do anything overtly against or for these types of people. And then there's the other ones, which will, same when, the bulk of them fall within these 2 categories, where They know they're this way. They don't want to tell people they're this way that often, but they will actively work against people who they believe to be a bad thing. For instance, making sure that people who are of that type don't get promotions and things like that. So there's both of those types where the bulk of the majority fall within those two types. And I personally think that the majority of that majority is the type where they're just passive about it. They're like, it's the same as I think that most people who are very, very atheist, who are like, I really do not like a religion, the way I think that they should live their lives. I think that people who are super anti-religious, I think that because I believe in personal freedom, I think that as long as you're not trying to hurt people, that you should be allowed to live your life the way you wish. Because of that, I would really prefer it if not just atheists, but also Christians. I could say Christians first this time, but if atheists were a little less aggressive towards Christians who aren't being aggressive, who are just trying to be passive in their religion. Like, you're not gonna make them feel bad for being religious by saying they're dumb, but you will make them mad, and you will make them push back if you keep trying to push them into a corner, and you keep trying to keep them out of everything, and keep trying to take away their freedoms when it comes to their religion. They're gonna start to push back the same way atheists pushed back, and I don't want that pendulum to come back hard. Like, the pendulum is in the atheist court right now, and the responsible thing to do is to hold that swing. Don't push that shit back. Don't let it go back. Hold it and just let it fall. Like, just hold it down. Let it sit there in the center. Don't try to let it go back and forth. No, it's fine. It's fine. Hold your ground where you are. Don't push any harder. And I think that we'd all be happier that way. I was referring to the primal atom theory from the 20s, and that hasn't been accepted theory for quite a while. The primal atom. I don't remember what that is. Let me Google that. This must have been from a long time ago, but you said this comment 2 minutes ago. I wonder how far behind on the stream you are. Primal atom. I do not remember this. If I'm referring to it, I must have heard it before. Primal. Term used referring to the original spatial temporal construct of creation formed by God, one which contained the entirety of the potential second generation creation to come, also known as the great seed of all. Little origins. The primal atom was the first. Let's see. All right, here we go. Space and time was brought into being or created by God or utilized. I don't think I was referring to this. I don't think I'm referring to this. So you're trying to say, nah, I wasn't referring to this, as far as I can tell. The things I talked about, I remember I was talking about a religious person did try to, was one of the original people to put forth the theory of the Big Bang. And if it was through this, okay. I do distinctly remember that they used math, and unless the primal atom involves math, then I don't know. And as far as I know, the Big Bang's never been fully disproved. Like, how can you, like, I haven't heard of anything like that. The religious aspects of it, you can't disprove that. How could you disprove a religion? Like, it's made up theory about made up things. Like, you can't disprove that. It's not provable or disprovable. Oh, someone else was talking about it in chat and I missed it? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, well, let me close that then. But this was an interesting conversation. Yeah, you can tell with me, I always, I am extremely biased towards this, and it would be very, very hard to change my position. I can have my position changed on just about anything, but I think top 10 hardest things to change my position on would be that personal freedoms are one of the most important things in a modern society. Like being able to be free to do the things that make you happy and productive, as long as those things do not limit other people's freedoms. And that would be a very hard thing to change my opinion on, because for me, I believe the meaning of life is basically to try to get through life enjoying yourself as much as you can. Try to live as long as you can and try to be as happy as you can while you live through that life. If gaining knowledge is the thing that brings you joy, then gain knowledge. If being spiritual is the thing that brings you joy, then be spiritual. If hurting people is the thing that brings you joy, then try to find someone who is brought joy by being hurt. But because if you try to hurt someone who doesn't want to get hurt, well, they're not brought joy by being hurt. They're brought joy by you not hurting them. So fuck off. Hey, David. So let's get back to the game. I think that should be the goal in just about everyone's life. Happiness. One of the easiest ways to be happy and to be satisfied with your life is, by the way, just to have children, have a family. They'll make you mad too. They'll make you mad, and sometimes they'll make you more miserable than you would have been if you didn't. But most people who have children feel like they've accomplished a thing, and it brings them joy to see their children succeed in a way that does not bring them joy when they themselves succeed. Most people. There's obvious exceptions, and there's some people who, like I said, much more misery is brought on them from the child, but those are the exceptions. We know those are exceptions, or else
Hey, Witche.
mankind would have already ended, right? Alright.
Grub and hooch. Life in a nutshell. You seek something, mate? You alright?
The wild one, huh? You swear you wasn't
What's a
late.
pickle?
You were here the whole time.
Hi, mate! Your mug's not familiar. What is it you want?
Looking for old Geert von Everett.
Ah, that'll be inside.
I pronounced his name perfectly. At least his last part of his name. I'm so surprised. Look at this lady. You see both them ladies?
Olgerd von Everett.
Now let's
I'm
burn
looking
some
for him.
people.
None here by that name.
Who are you as a group?
Can't help wondering. Who are you?
Who do we look like?
A crew of cutthroats? Or a band of former soldiers who got lucky?
Ah, but that's where you err. 'Cause we're sons of nobles, all.
And daughters.
So, gonna tell me who you are, precisely?
The Redanian Free Company. The Wild Ones, folk call us. Owing to the boar in our coat of arms.
Owen to the boar in our coat of arms. Why would that mean they're wild? Whatever.
I was told I'd find Olgierd von Everec here.
Someone's made an arse of you, brother.
So maybe you can make up for that and help me, brother.
Why is Geralt being so aggressive?
Something tells me you and me have got different mums.
All right, Ungus, you've had your fun. I'm Olgierd. Tell me, what brings you here?
No, I'm all geared.
You? Not likely. I'm all geared.
Bunch of idiots or amusing.
You folk are a hoot and all, and I'd love to stay for more laughs, but time's short.
Whoa, shit just got serious.
Hear about the monster in the sewers. Seems Olgierd von Everec offered a bounty on it.
Shit was serious from the start. Goes without saying with a Witcher.
How's that?
The purge you lot of emotion. It's why you're all stiff. Hey? You think they shoved a long pike up your arse?
All right, Master Witcher. Jests are done. Whether the good bit as it is, I'm impressed. Come on, I'll take you to Olgierd. What do they call you?
Geralt of Rivia.
I should follow.
Bit of advice,
This might be
Geralt of Rivia.
conversation.
Once you meet Olgierd, try and pique his interest.
Because I wanted to
gotta
talk
pique
to
his
them,
interest.
but
He's the one wants a monster dead.
Aye, but he don't need you to kill it. So, you want this job? You gotta grab his attention. And he's one to get bored mighty quick.
yeah. So what happens is, in my experience, when NPCs are walking away, if you don't follow them, they only wait for you for a while, and then you lose out on some shit. So, and there doesn't ever seem to be additional dialogue if you talk to other people right away.
You alright, Ducky?
So, I'll ignore my instincts this time and leave that place unexplored.
Ottoman, sir. You've a guest.
Do you know what types of sculptures fetch the best prices? Statues of
The naked
deity,
ones?
busts of kings, and moons. What have we here? A naked wench. What do you think of her?
The sculpture is not my field of expertise. Gotta admit I'd like it. I prefer Gernst's work myself. Who the fuck is Gernst? Rather talk about the notice. Well, you're supposed to not be boring, so I imagine this guy's artistic, so being artistic too might be interesting.
Frankly, gotta say I prefer the work of Pax Gernst.
Ah, the Kaviri school. Are you an Oxenfurt man?
No. Know some folk who graduated from there, though.
I used to like Botticelli. The life he could breathe into a chunk of cold stone. But I look at it now, and it seems just a rock, ideally proportioned, not a flaw on its surface, painfully perfect. As lifeless and boring as a boulder at the roadside. That's better. More interesting at the least. Very well. And now to the matter at hand. Let's rejoin the company. Partake of some refreshment first.
Ataman Olgierd, long may he live! Long live the Ataman! Long live the Ataman!
The Ottoman.
Come and drink with us!
Well, we haven't a choice now.
He has a hairy chest. Most NPCs in this game have no hair on their chests, except for like the dwarves.
Fetch us some wine, dear. And a nibble or two.
I don't really even remember a human NPC with hair. I think there has to have been a few of them. Like the bigger muscular one? No, not even them really. He likes to play hard. Alright. Celebrating anything special?
This some special occasion? Or just feel like feasting?
Every occasion's special. Today we celebrate a dubbing.
Whose?
Squire Herodor's new sabre.
He's a real man, says Pepper.
Fair saber, I dub thee Traditiana!
See. I don't even know what's more common. Like, I'd imagine it'd be way more common for men to have a hairy chest than to not, right? Like, is that like... I'm pretty sure that's the natural state for most men. If you're over freaking 30 years old and you don't have a hairy chest, that's like, that has to be less common, right? I wonder how uncommon that is, though. If it is less common. Is it like being left-handed, maybe?
Anything more?
I've no clue what it is. Only that it's deadly.
In this game, everybody's hairless, like freaking muscular dude.
The way she prepared game had no equal.
That why she was in the
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be playing Cyberpunk the day it comes out.
Nay. She went to a fair with a sister or cousin, matters not. Daft wench convinced her a prince transformed into a toad lives in the Oxenfurt sewers. And you know women, each craves a prince and will wade knee deep through shite to get him. Vissy was no exception in that respect. Down she went, never to return. Wasn't the first, it seems, either. Hey! Leave her be! Is that any way to treat the lord of the manor's daughter? Apologies. Now, where were we? Oh yes, the contract. So, you'll check it?
You know, I was thinking, the other thing I was wondering, but he started talking, because I hit the button. I wonder, like, if you can't grow hair on your chest, how much hair can you grow on your face? Are those two things linked? Like, do you have really sparse facial hair if you don't have chest hair? Yeah, actually, I'm not following the full debate between you guys, but one thing I do know for sure is that schools' textbooks are rarely up to date. Like, they're only up to date when they're newly published. Most schools' textbooks they're not, like, that stuff isn't like, it's expensive to make textbooks, so they're not pumping out a textbook every month to make sure all the most up-to-date research is the stuff being taught. So if you, depending on how long ago you went through school, many of the things that you were taught to be fact have been put through peer review again because of some conflicting research that has come through. and sometimes that is just dismissed from the community, the scientific community, as a fact. They're like, we don't believe that anymore. This new research with this new discovery that we found here completely contradicts what we believed here, so we don't accept that now. You got to think of science like a giant puzzle. It's like that's the way I always think about it. It's a big, massive, giant puzzle. That is, our entire universe is a puzzle, and some of those pieces we can clearly see, and we see these things, they're very observable, and so we see exactly how the puzzle piece is, and we see exactly where it goes. But there's lots of puzzle pieces that are missing, and so we take the things that we can see and prove, and we fill in this puzzle. And then in the places where we have no puzzle pieces, we see the shape of the puzzle piece, and we go, haha, we see enough of the shape of the puzzle piece. Because sometimes what'll happen is, imagine it as a puzzle piece with only 4 corners around that puzzle piece, right? And so they figured out, they've observed. There we go. I got my internet back. So let me continue. This is because I think this is interesting. So imagine that I'm not going to go on for this. Just believe these things to be true because they're so self-evident. Yeah, that's a good word. A good way of saying it, I guess. It's just like it's just observable, and even when we try to test it and disprove it, it's there. So those 2 pieces are pretty concrete to us, right? And then we have other pieces. The left piece is also surrounded by some other pieces that we believe to be true, but we're not as concrete about. And so then we fill in that left piece to the empty piece of the puzzle with a theoretical piece. And we do and say the same thing for that bottom piece, right? We fill in that piece with another theoretical piece. And so what we have here is, in the middle, we have this theory based on theories that we believe to be true. And this theory is a little bit more sketchy, but we also believe it to be true because it fits perfectly. Like, if all these things are true, then this piece here must be this thing, right? But then we find out that left piece, through some new discovery, we're able to observe what the left piece was, which completely puts into question what the pieces around that piece were. Even a few of the ones that we believe to be true, but we weren't 100% on. But we were able to observe it, but we observed it not in its entirety. Like, there's different ways of looking at things, different ways of observing time and things like that, right? And so we see this new way to look at things, and that changes the way that we interpret the pieces around it, and they have to change, which means that the piece that is there now that new theory, the piece that we believe to be pretty obvious, has to change by necessity. And now that one piece that I started in the beginning, that one empty spot that was based on these other theories, is just completely gone, and now it's a new empty piece that we have to look at and figure out something that would fit in there, because maybe it's not as evident what would go in there. If this is true and this is true and this is true, then this has to be true by necessity. But no, now it doesn't work that way. And sometimes that'll be how science goes, and sometimes it's just this discovery disproves this thing, but it helps us understand these. But sometimes this discovery will only disprove some things and not bring any new understanding to this other thing that's related to it. In fact, it just brings more confusion. But but it's just the way this one is. It holds up to testing, and we can't not. It is what it is. we don't have anything to examine it any further than we have to show what it is. Like you can think of it as a puzzle or a tapestry or anything, but it's like it's this, I like a puzzle. It's just this big, giant fucking puzzle of unknowns and knowns. And quite often, the things that are held to be the truest of the truests, the things that we can physically observe and understand, and we've examined incredibly thoroughly, will actually still sometimes turn out to be false, because we learned a new way of examining that thing, which gave us much deeper knowledge about its structure and the way that it affects the universe. Science. I really love science, man. I'm a huge fan of science. I can talk about science forever. I can watch anything related to science forever. It was my favorite thing in school. I know some people don't give a damn, but I do. That's, it's one of the few things besides video games that I'm extremely passionate about. Even though I do not spend as much as my free time as I used to looking into these things, when the subjects come up, when I'm approached about things, or when I just stumble across something, I'll get a wild hair at my butt and spend hours or days researching that thing. But nowadays, I normally don't spend as much time like diving into the stuff as I used to. It's one of the things I miss most about school is that when I was in school, I was actively encouraged to learn those things more, which I personally found joy in. I know most kids don't like school. I enjoyed school. There were certain aspects of it that I didn't like sometimes. I like the teachers sometimes. Sometimes the students, but most of the time the students I could put in their place. I grew up fast, and I grew up big, and I grew up strong, and I grew up in a school of hard knocks that made it so that I could handle myself, and people who annoyed the shit out of me didn't annoy me after they passed a line. So I didn't have issues with any of that. So I really had my later years, my early school years, when I was real young, no. But my later half, like through the later part of my middle school through high school, like almost nothing but fond memories. Just a few teachers who were annoying throughout stuff, and children who, I was a child too, but children who would be temporarily annoying sometimes. But I have a lot of fond memories of those years. And a lot of it is not just tied to the things that I did because I was a kid, and kids love doing fun, silly things. No, part of it was school, man. And I don't mean the school part of just being around people. No, I'm talking about the learning. I really like learning new things. For a long time after I was finished with school, I would still do things as if I was in school and try to learn new stuff. It's only within the past couple of decades where I just dropped most of that altogether, and I just was busy with other things, and I just fell out of the habit of learning something new. It's one of the reasons why it frustrates me so much that I'm not good at math anymore, and I keep saying things like maybe I should try to study math again and get back all that knowledge. But man, I've never understood why people don't find joy in learning new things. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not afraid to admit I'm wrong. And I remember I was criticized for being the opposite of that sometimes throughout my life, but I have proven those people completely wrong many times through my ability to just back down on something in an instant. If irrefutable proof is there, I don't stick to my guns just because I don't want to be wrong. I drop the guns and surrender because guess what? I don't want to be wrong. You're only not wrong when you admit you're not wrong, when you admit that you were wrong, right? As long as you continue to fight when you know you're wrong, or you have some mental block that refuses to allow you to believe that you can be wrong on something, then you're just going to go around looking like an idiot and not learning anything new. Anyways, hopefully that is my last tangent for quite a while. Then my last, whatever you want to call it. Because I actually want to focus on the game. We're in the middle of the DLC finally. And it seems interesting. And hell, that's one of the reasons I'm here besides just hanging out with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to Twitch. Before that, I'm going to go ahead and link the channel. And I'm going to do my best to not become distracted and go on long tangents about random things that only some people are interested in. Most people are here because they're interested in the game and me, and some people are fine with just me, with whatever I'm saying or doing. But other people, they want the combination of me and the game. So I'm gonna try to go ahead and give everybody what they want. Let's see. See you later, Night Howler. There we go. Frank says not his last tangent. Well, probably not, but I mean for a long time, right? I'm sure at some point down the line on the stream I'll start talking about something or another again. It's what I do. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to control myself, even if I think something's really interesting to go much deeper into temporarily. I'm going to try to control myself and go deeper into the game, at least for a little while. You always get distracted. I try to focus, but sometimes my focus is stolen from me by interesting things. The game will always be there, but that topic might not come back around. Not organically, at least. Alright. I'll see you guys on Twitch. Distracted gaming live stream. Yeah. Distracted gamer. I don't know. Yeah, I could probably come up with something that would, some kind of descriptive thing as far for a name of that kind of thing. It's like tossing a grenade. Alright, I'm not sure where that's gonna go, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the stream and we'll see. The chat goes for like I think a few minutes after I stop the stream, so I'll still should be able to read the comment because I leave the YouTube chat up until I'm finished streaming for the entire day, and then I leave the Twitch chat up for until I start the stream again the next day. Then I refresh it because the Twitch chat never closes. Like anyone says anything at any point in time, it brings that up. Anyways, to Twitch. The switch won't be instant this time because I'm going to pee right before this, but it should be less than like 2 minutes before the switch. So I'll see you guys there.